All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Stephanie Brown. I'm the host of the In BTWN ARTIST podcast. I'm joined today with Katrina Cooley Lenzly, music artist and owner of Elevated USC. I have the pleasure of knowing Cooley since our SCAD days. And if you are tuning in to the podcast, you would know that Katrina is episode number 2. And it was a good one. I think, as things are rolling out and flowing, your clips have had a lot of activity
Wow.
on them and commentary. But I really think that's just because so many elements of your story and what you shared is just really relatable. Today we're gonna have a live Q&A, get caught up, see what's new with Katrina and what's going on. At any point in time, we might reference pieces and bits from the episode, and you can listen to that wherever you like to enjoy your podcasts. Katrina, how you feeling?
I feel great. Thanks for having me back. Yeah.
Yeah, you're always a good time, so I'm
Oh,
glad.
thank you.
So tell me what's been happening. So the last time we spoke, you were donning a recently new title of senior art director at Huge, and you were also still doing your music thing. Where are we now? What's going on?
Yeah, a lot has happened. I I think we did that podcast in October,
Yeah.
right, in 2023. About a year later, I experienced a really I don't know, tumultuous event in terms
It was
of.
traumatic. I feel like you can call it that. Like,
Gosh. Okay, all right. Let's call it traumatic. Apartment fire that left me without a home for a period of time, and then also left me on like I don't know a 3-month period of like sleeping on like a mattress and kind of just living out of a suitcase, which is like the only thing that we could like salvage at the time. So just you know I don't know, like Walmart clothes and a blow up mattress on the floor and lots of community care. So that was really interesting to like also be working full time during that experience. I learned a lot about our industry and what it can provide and some of the things that it can't provide when you're going through life things.
when you say our industry, are you referring to like our industry as creatives or as artists, or specifically like the advertising industry?
Oh, interesting. I would say both. I mean,
Okay.
the ad industry has its own culture around I don't know what it means to have like community or what it
Yeah.
means to be present or empathetic. And I learned that there's a time limit on that empathy too. I
Or
just
parameters like an ERG.
Wow. Yeah. Parameters is a good word to use as well. But the creative industry too. A lot of I found that a lot of my community that is music based. I don't know the framework of like independent musicianship lends itself for I learned or I felt as though the framework around independent musicianship lends a lot more room and freedom for like communal care, whereas my art like creative professional these people that I've known for decades, I don't know there's like something that was missing in I'm trying to be like really thoughtful in how I put it. Yeah, I don't know. I noticed a big difference in the two in those two worlds. But again, learned a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's wild.
very.
Okay, but you're here now.
But I'm here now. Here, housed, doing really well, thriving. And then another update was that I was severed from my place of employment at the end of
Oh,
January. Yeah, that was interesting too. Learned a lot.
was this like a end of department kind of thing,
There
or
was
just an end of role?
no, I mean, I mean, they only tell you so much, but there's a merger, and then from that merger that, you know, was supposed to be not impactful, ended up impacting, including my role, along with, conveniently, 5 other women of color. So that was to get that email on Martin Luther King's birthday, a week before MLK Day. Yeah. Again, learned a lot.
And it's so hard, like in a situation like that, it's hard like not to want to read between the lines. It's just like,
what line?
Right. What line?
Yeah.
Ooh. I have a lot of thoughts about that, some of which I cannot legally talk about yet. But I will just say that these situations are reminders of just how volatile any path you take as a creative can be. Because I think, I mean, I'll speak for myself, like there's a sense of safety with a W-2 job, right? And a sense of like expectation and promise. And it's just like, okay, like I'm here until I choose not to be. But things like this happen, you know, and especially I know in the advertising world, my company works with the advertising world as well. Like all that stuff continues to move and shake. Like the number of mergers I've heard, separations, consolidations, like real people get impacted every single time. And I think it's something important to note, right? Because I think that level of safety is really what you make it and what you perceive it to be, because nothing is promised. So either way, you still out here like living an entrepreneurial life, whether it looks like W-2 or it looks like contract. And I think that's something I'm thinking a lot about now. Like just as I navigate where I am in my career, I'm just like, what does life look like without a W-2? But honestly, it doesn't look too different. Realistically, it's like on paper, it looks more different. But at the end of the day, like I could get another W-2 job if I needed to, but like they could also let me go too. Like anything could happen.
No, there's like a renewed sense of freedom. Obviously the security, you know, if you work as a freelancer or if you're in that entrepreneurial lifestyle, you know, it's very much eat what you kill. And there's some freedom in that, in the sense of like, you know, your day isn't necessarily structured. You structure your day. There's not, you know, a 9 a.m. stand-up meeting talking about things that could be an email. You decide what your mornings and what your evenings and afternoons look like. So it's kind of like you're substituting like one hell for another, depending on how or one heaven for another, depending on how you look at it, right? So
exactly.
Yeah. And
so how did you want to navigate that? Or how have you been navigating that?
Oh, I mean, great question. There was a lot of like, so I had the rule, and I talked about this rule on the podcast. 18 months was my, like,
you broke the rule with them.
And I broke the rule. Why did I break the rule? One, economically, it was a very volatile market. It didn't seem smart to break my rule. It didn't seem smart to continue to go with the rule, but also.
And you were being compensated in a space where like that felt good to also maintain. Like, why end that?
Yeah, I mean, titling, status, position, you know, all of those are factors that go into why we continue to be employed.
Be in any role.
Be in any role, right? In addition, you know, there's this like, in the ad industry, sometimes if you can get rose-colored glasses about the work that you're doing, because there's language around the work that you're doing that says impact and says community and culture, and we're doing, you know, we're changing and we're galvanizing. And if you're not careful, you start to, I think, make yourself believe that what you're doing isn't close to what it really is, which is capitalism, or what close to what it really is, which is, you know, sometimes exploitative to minoritized cultures, or minoritized people. So I don't know, you get into the weeds and like pursuing your own, and this is for any role and any person. Sometimes it's easy to get into the weeds of pursuing your own goals outside of work or in work and then within your department, that you forget, like, what's important. Thankfully, the fire at my apartment really helped ground me before this happened. And so I was already a little disassociated and like,
Sure.
this, what, disenchanted by the thing.
Yeah.
But I also think the instability of like the housing placed me in a position where I was like, well, I don't want to do anything. Like, I don't want any new things, no new friends,
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
no stuff. Like, I'm good.
I got enough news right now.
Enough news. Yeah, I have
I
enough.
can imagine like feeling really vulnerable too, right?
Yeah. There, I mean, honestly, in the last year, there's been so much, been so much questioning, not just societally, but just in my personal life around like worth and like self-worth and what is value. I actually just finished a workshop with the A2 collective on self-worth and work and how we integrate those two things. Sometimes we think about our positioning and titling as being a metric for our personal value, and when those things are dispersed, you're really left with, oh, who am I again? What do I do?
Right.
Or just in my interactions in Atlanta, walking into a space and people asking you that question, what do you do for work? And you're like, oh, I don't do anything for work at the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm a really nice person. So once I got over the hump, literally, I graduated from SCAD and was working that Monday. We graduated
Back to back.
Back to back. I have not stopped working since. Even during COVID, like I'm like scrambling, looking for work to do, bread to bake.
Now that was a big part of your journey that you shared on the episode, right? Because not only did this role also kept you moving back to back as well, from role to role. It was also a way that you were able to leverage status changes.
Yep.
You kind of went up and down in terms of pay scale, but like your opportunities continue to grow, and like one opportunity just beget another.
Yep.
But you did mention, this is a great kind of here where you're at now. You did mention, the importance and value of like putting in that work at the early part of your career, in your like early 20s, so that you can really benefit from that in your 30s and beyond. So how are we thriving now in our 30s with all the work you put in back to back to back? And now you're in a space where like, no, I don't have an employer per se, like on paperwork, but you were always employed. So like, let me just like make that clear. Like as an artist, you are always employed because your art is your job. That's always going to be job number one. So now that there's no supplementary roles and you're just looking at Cooley and Cooley's career. Yeah. How did that journey now kind of set you up for where you are?
One, as we're talking about like capitalist structure, I was able to save a lot. So
yes,
thankfully, shout out to Ramit Sethi and Vivian, my rich best friend, for just, I don't know, having accessible resources out there for me to, just stack up, essentially, for whatever the next investment I want it to be. The other side of that is, I never took for granted my network, or, what it meant to be doing free work sometimes, or what it meant to be treating design not always as just a means of income, but as an investment or an act of service for other people. And so thankfully, what I found in the last 9 months from fire to, this employment situation, is that I have so many different friends and associates to lean on if necessary. I haven't like, have been really hesitant to like post about it on LinkedIn or like, you know, share
Sure.
like openly that, you know, that this happened. A little bit of that, honestly, you know, in transparency is like a bit of embarrassment, which I think people probably go through.
Yeah.
But also, I wanted to take the time to sit with myself and decide, okay, I've spent the last 11 years working back to back to back in a structure that often I didn't get much from outside of the that financial part of it. I learned a lot, like in terms of like, you know, projects and that sort of thing, but it was all to the benefit, seemingly to all to the benefit of refeeding the system.
Yeah.
And now I get
The
to decide,
client.
yeah, what do I want to do now? I get to be on so many different side quests during the day. Like I'm really like when on Instagram when it's like your unemployed best friend on a Tuesday in the afternoon. That's me. Like I'm just kind of floating around, just finding different things to attend and enrich myself and all those things. And thankfully, like I mentioned, there's cushion for me to do that. But then there's also like spaces that other people are working in that I get to say yes to. Cooley, do
Yeah.
you want to come with me to this thing? Yeah, sure. I don't know. I have nothing to do.
Right.
Cool.
I'm
Yeah,
available.
I'm available. And I was not before. So yeah.
I love that. Now you're doing a lot more shows now,
I am.
and I would say that your availability's aided to that a lot.
Um, actually, it's so interesting. The week that the day that that fire occurred, I was at a show. So I literally
Mm.
I got off stage, checked my phone, and had a text message like 5 minutes prior, which means I was walking off stage when I got this text, and it said, "Hey, are you okay? The building's on fire." And I was like, oh man, my performance must have been that hot. You know what I mean? This must be.
Yeah.
Oh, girl, the building is on. The place you live is on
Literally.
fire. Anyway. That was the first performance I had of the summer, and then
Mhm.
almost 2-3 times a week, during that process or during that period of time, I was doing a show and working full time.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say like there was definitely not like freedom that was opening up. There was just maybe just more so like, well, what am I gonna do? Sit at my parents' house and like be sad about it? Am I gonna sit in, you know, my apartment on like on the floor and be sad about it? It really was like music has been a way to get me out the house, which
Yeah.
is really nice. You know, there's like a loneliness epidemic, and I could easily be sucked into the depression of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, music's been really. I've been blessed that these things kind of align in the same time period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's hit logistics for a little bit because I think what's also really important and a good lesson here is, again, we're talking about how volatile the market is,
Mm.
whether you are fully freelance or if you have a W-2 job, but that importance of the savings
Yeah.
that can afford you some cushion.
Mhm.
Now, are you leaning on that savings for like paying your rent that you have for your apartment in Atlanta? Are you making additional income by doing shows? What's kind of happening revenue source wise for you right now?
Yeah, Steph, you my business.
That's the point.
No, thankfully I haven't had to touch my savings outside of like a savings account I have specifically for music.
Nice.
So anything music related, I get to pull from that, whether that's for marketing or merch or whatever.
Very smart.
And then again, to have not had to touch my savings for like any personal like rent or anything like that. Yeah, I kind of set up my savings like with like multiple savings account, including, you know, whatever my investment accounts are, 401k, all that good stuff. Um, yeah, yeah, I honestly don't know how it's happening. I'll be completely honest. Some weeks I'm like, girl, don't look at that account. Don't. But I know it's there. But getting paid for shows has been amazing. I don't know what's up with like unemployment, DOL, get at me. But At the moment, I'm just I'm just out here
There,
existing.
it's a slow process, is
Very
it?
slow
Yeah.
process, incredibly slow process, and kind of a sad process because they make you go to this orientation at one of the employment centers, and there's like a police officer there, and like it feels kind of like jail
Oh,
intake.
wow.
It's very jarring, and there's people of all ages like that are coming to be oriented into unemployment. And I'm looking at people that are younger than me. I'm looking at people that are much older than me,
Mm.
all sitting here just being like, just a reflection of how volatile the market is at the moment. And I don't know, very, very jarring, very strange.
That's wild. I've only ever had to apply for unemployment once, but I did not get to the orientation stage
Okay.
because Working Not Working scooped me up, so I
Hey,
didn't end up doing it.
shout out.
But that's wild. That's
Very,
wild.
yeah. Um, I'll be completely honest though, not to sound like super silver lining about it. But there's
Silver
like,
linings are good. They
okay,
exist.
all right. I mean, that's true. That's very true. One of the exciting things about what's happening, because this is happening across markets, this is happening in
Sure.
tech, this is happening in the ad industry, this is happening federally. One of the exciting things for me to see, because I kind of like enjoy chaos, just as a personal motivator for me. All of these people are incredibly talented. They wouldn't have had the job in the first place if they weren't incredibly talented or
Yeah.
capable or completely like geniuses in their field or well trained in their field. If they're severing all of these people, they're going somewhere. Like
Yeah.
that means that they're taking that talent, that genius, that capability out
Yeah.
somewhere with them. And I don't know, it's exciting for me to think that there's going to be completely new industries, completely new ideas like popping up because a group of people have decided that they didn't think that they were valuable or necessary for the capital gain. Um,
Right.
so yeah, as I was sitting in that room at the unemployment office and just kind of looking around, I don't know, I could just you just pointing out like the value in the lady sitting next to me who's in her 60s, who's you could tell was really disoriented by the situation, but I could tell I could tell there was I don't know, there was so much love and like care in that room. She was
Mm.
one of the people who had it, and I don't know, I could tell in the care that she had in the way she was dressed and the way and how serious she was taking the moment. Man, I can't imagine like how well of an employee you were. I hope that you either find something or that something new finds you so that you can take this passion somewhere else. um,
Yeah.
Value it. So yeah, I'm optimistic about the next iteration of whatever this looks like.
Yeah. And do you feel like you're in a space where you're wanting to actively pursue new opportunities, or are you enjoying the space that you're in now and wanting to use that as an opportunity to just dive deeper into your own entrepreneurial endeavors?
Definitely the latter. So a few weeks after I was freed, not let go. I was
Yeah.
freed. Um,
Amen.
I
Hmm.
started a cohort, a music marketing cohort, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
really, really dope. Like it's an 8-week cohort. We do, week one is like a level setting session that I also want to really build out. But we do goal setting and infinite goal setting, and then we go
Are
through.
these people that you just handpicked, or?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
These are
nice.
people from ATL Collective. Really, really great group of talented independent artists who just want to learn more about the marketing side of things. And thankfully, I have
Nice.
the experience, 10 years experience in that field to merge the two languages. But yeah, we go through week 1 through 8 with guest speakers that are either from the marketing side and the business side or from the music side, to help sort of energize, encourage, teach, give practical feedback about the music aspects, which is a business, and sometimes it's difficult for artists to
Yeah.
merge those two things because it feels icky. But yeah, I'm really happy to be leading this cohort. So we did Q1 at the end, that ended in March. And then in June, I'll be starting Q2, or really Q3, with a new group of people, and some new really great speakers. So I'm excited.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you defining success now
Mm-hmm.
compared to how you might have defined success fresh out of undergrad?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think I'm figuring it out right now. I hate to keep like going back to like this fire situation, but success prior to the fire was like, I'm at the dopest like space in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I have my dream job. Like I'm building a house. Like I'm doing like all the things. Like I'm doing great. And then it goes up in flames, literally and metaphorically. And I'm trying to figure out like, oh, what did it mean in the beginning? Like what did that mean? People go, things go, stuff goes. And it's also so wild because at the beginning of the year, I started affirming this mantra, like less is more, less is more. And then
Yeah.
my house went away. I was like, I should be more specific.
I hear you, God.
Yes, success for me currently is waking up every day with a renewed sense of purpose that is realer than just working for people who don't care. Yeah. Success looks like self-worth, and success is also looking like re-energizing and bringing value back to the communities that I care for. And I think a little bit of that might have been or has been lost for me in the last few years, like in just working in this like cyclical process.
I think it's fair. I know you said like I hate to keep coming back to the fire thing, but I think it's important because we all have turning points in our lives, like in our own like journeys. And even if it's not necessarily a turning point, I will call it like a page turner, right? Or like something that denotes like a clear start to a new chapter or a new whole section altogether. And all of those things really help put things into perspective for us differently. And I think that that operates differently for different people, but I think those things are necessary to like get us to the next step. So I do feel like those types of moments are divinely placed to help position us or get us to start looking at things a little bit differently, maybe taking something else seriously, maybe taking something else less seriously.
Yeah.
All of those things I feel like are really intentional to help us move how we need to move. I was just speaking today with a new consulting client,
Okay.
young photographer, and what I was doing differently this time in chatting with her is we talked a little bit about like her fears. Like, what are you afraid of? Because I think now, like retrospectively looking at where I am now and where I was before, doing things that make us scared are often the things that propel us. Oftentimes people say like, if you want to be successful, you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. It was a whole like Steve Harvey thing where he was saying that too. But it's true. Because in our comfort zones are not spaces in which we grow.
Yeah.
We grow from points of discomfort, whether that might be losses, gains, all of those things help shape us and like make us who we are.
Yeah. 100% align with that. It's especially the discomfort part of it. It's so interesting because when I was in a lot of my 9 to 5s, I've dreamt of not having my 9 to 5, and not that I'm dreaming of a 9 to 5 now.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting because I remember when I got the email like, you've been impacted. One, I've never been let go ever in my life. So I was like, I think they got the wrong person.
Yeah.
It couldn't be me.
It's an ego hit. Like it has happened to me once in my life. And like,
Yeah.
I went through these stages as if it was a like a breakup, you
Yeah.
know, like it felt like infidelity. Like I was like cheated on or something. Like it was intense. Right. Like, no, like you got the, like, I also was very like,
Yeah.
No, you're kidding, right? Like
I
you
fell
got
on the
like,
ground. Yeah.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
what's silly is that like so I couldn't log on that morning that I was let go. And I was just like calling IT.
What's happening?
Yeah, I was like, "Hey, can you help me? Just having an issue here, looking out in the hall, like, hey, can somebody help me?" It's like,
Oh, you were in
and then
office?
I was in office at the time. Yeah. And then I
Yes.
get a call from HR and just like, "Hey, can we chat with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll be right there." Like, I'm all giddy to the conversation that's about to say, "Hey, we're firing you." I'm
Yeah.
just like, "I'm sorry,
Who?
come again? For what now?" But it's like it goes from I felt like from confusion to just anger. Like I
Yes.
was like hot pepper rage,
Yes. Yes.
angry, almost like a how dare you
I
kind of
see.
thing. And it was just
Yeah.
it was embarrassment, it was ego, it was just like it was a good lesson of
Mhm.
how my worth was wrapped around my role
Yep.
and employment and status and all of those things like put that into question for me, and I was forced to reassess all of it because I'm
Yeah.
just like, who am I without a job? Like, who am I without this title?
Yeah.
Who am I without this fancy check, without, whatever. They weren't paying me all that great anyway. So that wasn't all that serious. But,
Uh-huh.
we had to let go of that so that God could bring me to my greater. But like
Oh,
all of those things, shift, but it is an ego hit. And I think they're great questions for us to ask around our self worth and self value. And I do think that that's a big reason why a lot of creatives have trouble actually fully diving into their practice, like fully taking it on and like moving forward. Because
mhm.
it's almost like you need permission. We're waiting for permission. I think as a society, we're conditioned to waiting for permission. If I hire you as a, senior art director or designer, like that company status, the bigger, the better that they are, you are feeding off of that and you feel like, oh yeah, they want me. Like, it's like, it's desired. And
Mhm.
then when they don't want you anymore, it's just like, oh, I'm not this great designer. It's like, you're still that great designer. You were that great designer before them, after them, like, period. But we're so reliant on these titles and these roles to define us
Yeah.
and to give us permission to be great when
Mm.
we actually can be giving ourselves permission from the jump.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Um, I have so much to add, but I don't have anything to add really. Just echoing the sentiment. The breakup aspect of that is so interesting. I was thinking about this earlier before the call. Yes, it feels like a breakup, but also it's kind of like dating the popular guy in high school and finding out that he can't read and he's a little bit racist and stuff. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Like
Oh boy.
when he breaks up with you, like I gave you me,
Right.
yeah, yeah. There's a big
You're lucky. Like,
you're lucky.
right.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Um, yeah, there's a lot of that. In addition to the timing of, you know, the timing of it, the convenience of it, wrapped into uh hmm, wrapped into what you took from me in the
Yeah.
process. Like took
Mm.
away some of my confidence with these arbitrary critiques that
You
were
allowed them to.
I allowed them to. Yes. 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 It was very it was what was frustrating to me about this was that uh my multi hyphenatedness
Yeah.
was like pedestaled or celebrated
Mm.
to energize the team and get them excited about the work because we need them to work harder. And I'm like, yeah, okay, like, yeah, of course. I'd love to talk about I love transparency, love authenticity. Let's talk about it
I can be my whole self.
I can be my whole, that's my series. I have an entire public speaking series about bringing your whole self to work. What I had not considered was that bringing your whole self to work in an unsafe space also makes you vulnerable to exploitation. So it created, when that severance happened, it left in me this level of like a want for justice. Like you had my music playing on the, like during the meetings, like, hey, we want something funky. Like you mascotted me. And it's crazy because I don't really be down with that kind of thing. And I said yes because I thought it would garner something else out of it. And it did nothing. All of it.
They gained.
Yes. It felt very icky. It was a really icky thing that I'm excited to have learned. And also it was also really funny, Stephanie. Like unemployment's not funny, but it was just a funny situation. Like to get the email, I fell on the floor and I just started laughing. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Y'all, no way. And I remember Mark comes in, my partner comes in, and he's like, are you okay? And I'm just hysterically laughing. I was like, I got let go today. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was like, okay, like, okay. And then I started crying. I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, well, are you hungry? Like after a while, he's like, do you want to go get food? I was like, I don't even know if I have money anymore to go anywhere. I'll just die of hunger. He was like, let's go to the Chinese buffet. And I was like, Stephanie, it was 3:00 in the afternoon. I just started, him saying that just made me burst out crying again. Because I was like, you want to go to the Chinese buffet with the other unemployed people? And I just had a full 24-hour spiral. But we're all
good. It's warranted.
I think so.
Totally valid. It's because you just like with the breakup, you go through all of those emotions and eventually you get to the stage of like, wow, I'm so glad I'm not with that person anymore. And oh, look at how I grew from, we get there, but we got to go through all of the emotions. And it's, we're being full human beings by also just allowing yourself to go through all of those emotions. Because I feel like it's also fair and important for us to mention there's a lot of people who don't allow themselves to feel and don't allow themselves to like grieve a role or a past role or the status and what came with that. All of those things are necessary, and it's okay to grieve them, even with your excitement about what's next. Both of those feelings are fine and normal and healthy. You can grieve this thing where you're even low-key excited that you don't have to be with them anymore and excited for what's next or what new opportunities are ahead for you. And at the same time, you can grieve that sense of security, that safety, that all of the things that you felt like you were gaining from them. Like both of those feelings are valid, and it feels strange to like feel them both at the same time. I think that's what's also like really disorientating about that kind of situation in a whole.
Yeah, there's a rejection element of it too. And I think you named it earlier as well. One thing that I am excited about in like going through this process is knowing that A, I'm not the only one, but B, that there's a need for some therapizing around like corporate culture, but specifically like creatives in corporate.
Creatives post-corporate, I feel like needs its own like whole support group.
Something that I've been meeting with, there's a holistic practitioner here in Stone Mountain that I'm talking with, and then Audrey and I, who was your last podcast guest, have been talking about with A2 Collective would be what it would be like to create a design cohort that maybe speaks to some of the dichotomy of being a sensitive, artistic, talented, right-brained individual in a space that doesn't allow for that sort of empathy or that sort of compassion. It's like you have to turn some elements of your humanity off just to navigate and create coded language to survive in this space. And honestly, even before this situation, I'd been thinking about like what does it really mean for us to be doing that? Like these are like God-given talents that are being, you know what I mean, stretched and pulled and you know, mangled and a lot of this is like kind of just surfaced a lot of opportunity to like really think about what are we promoting here in terms of like telling younger people like, yeah, get in, you know, follow your dreams into corporate. Like, for what are we getting into? What are we putting people into? And then there's other elements of like white supremacy culture and the characteristics of that also intertwine into, you know, being a Black or brown person in the space, or I'm a minoritized person.
And I would feel scary for like even what corporate life looks like now. It was a very different world where, you know, you've got COVID and like DEI out the butt, you know, just like everywhere. And then now lots of people assumed that we would go back to this pro DEI space. And I think a lot of people were very surprised to see the opposite occur, where money and opportunity were just kind of like all over the place for people of color. To see DEI and all of its cousins
walked back,
like punished, you know, or threatened for embracing, I think is also, it's a blessing and a curse, right? Because it is a great opportunity to really see employers for who they are.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of young creatives looking at their quote unquote dream jobs and dream employers. And I would hope that they have new questions for them, you know, when they have an opportunity to intern or interview or, you know, engage with them. I do think a lot, I think about this for myself, is like, what does work look like moving forward? Super wise woman told me, where she was like, it was kind of like a prayer workshop kind of thing, or like an affirmation workshop thing. And a lot of people, myself included, were kind of making references to like work, wealth, money. She was like, why y'all praying for work?
Girl.
It was just like, we need to stop this right now. And like,
she said, I'm buying that.
And like, she has a job, right? So it's not to say that like she doesn't have a job, but it's all about wording, and it's all about our language. And it has me, since that moment of hearing her and having that experience with her, it has me being really intentional about my languaging. Like, I don't pray for work. I don't like
for labor.
I don't pray for labor. I don't look for labor. I'm not looking to be like engulfed by that. But what I am looking for are opportunities to utilize my skill set. I am looking for opportunities to connect, to leverage, you know, like all of that languaging now has become very different. And I think as an artist, it's allowed me to open up how I see my practice. And I think that your story and like your creative practice as well, because you're multi-hyphenated too, is a really great example in that, again, it doesn't matter whether you're W-2 or full-time, like those things don't actually matter. Like that's just semantics now. At the end of the day, how and in what ways are you embodying your art practice? How are you embodying the gifts and talents that you have? For me, that shows up as a host of a podcast. That shows up if I'm doing a speaking engagement. That shows up if I'm making an installation, if I'm doing a photo shoot. Like they're just all different arms of the same machine. And I think for so long, I fell into this, oh, I have to separate the two.
Right.
I'm an artist here. And then this always felt wrong for me, where I was just like, yeah, I'm an artist. And then in my professional career, and I kind of be like, ooh, I mean, but I'm a professional artist. Is that not also my professional career? So like, no, I mean, in my other professional, like all that confusion around languaging, I think subconsciously does do something to us, which is why it's so important for us to be really mindful about our language and the words that we're using, because I was separating the two, and it took me 11 years, almost 12 years, to finally come full circle and understand myself as an artist, like more holistically, and no longer putting these walls up dividing who I am creatively, and instead bringing them together. And I think what we learned from your podcast episode, and if anybody follows Katrina, you should, King Cooley, I think it's a beautiful showcase of all of your skill sets, because you are a performer, you are a musician, you're a connector, you're a storyteller. All of those things show up differently, whether you are writing songs or performing them live, or designing something, helping other people design stuff. Like all of those things, if you're speaking to a crowd, like that's all you being an artist. That's
Yeah.
all you being a creative. And I think that I needed to learn to give myself permission. I think that you've learned to give yourself permission too, in the way that you're moving. And I think that's now the direction and kind of motivation that I would give any and all artists that are trying to figure it out, or that are looking to come into the space, opposed to seeking labor, opposed to seeking, who's my future great employer. So work on finding that employer in them. And actually, we learned that from Audrey's episode too, because Audrey's mom was speaking life into her around like, why can't you do it? Why do you have to like work for this particular person? And she's like, no. Why would I want to do that? It's like, we got to go through the motion sometimes to figure out like, okay, no, that's not the route. But I think, again, this is why these conversations are so important. I want people to learn from me. I want people to learn from you. I want people to learn from all of our journeys and stories. Like, don't repeat our mistakes. Like, that's why we're talking about them publicly. Right. Like, hear this and move accordingly.
Yeah. No, 100% stuff. All of this experience is exciting, because not only, like you said, do you get permission to be full and show up fully, but like you mentioned with Audrey, like you have permission to lead too. Like if you don't have the, you know what I mean? If you don't have the example of it, you have all the permission to lead whatever that is yourself. And also, I think there's some space to name that, like some of what we're talking about is designed, and there's a construct created so that there is not a lot of space to feel like there's permission.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's meant to keep you feeling bound so that you go back to that. I mean, I'm navigating and looking for spaces around like healthcare.
Okay.
Because we live in a country where great healthcare is tied to employment. So what does that look like? And how do we achieve those things without necessarily kind of falling back into systematic pressures and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Or opportunities. There's another podcast I was listening to through this platform, Meta Label, and they're talking about, actually they were using music labels as an example, and how music labels being like a collaborative effort and like a really great example of multiple independent artists coming together with similar sounds or audiences and that kind of thing, like pushing an agenda, and how our platforms, social media platforms in particular, are set up to keep us siloed.
Yeah, right.
Where they could have been community-based from the jump, but they're all afterthoughts. Like we just got Instagram group messaging, like all of these things, like all these collaborative efforts are like afterthoughts, or they don't exist at all. But it's a reminder of like why and the purposes that they serve. Where can we create spaces for artists to come together more and share resources and share opportunities? And I don't think that those things are going to live on these platforms.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I think that's what makes it all dangerous to, you know what I mean, to the system. I don't want to climb up my soapbox too far. My research within white supremacy culture has opened up a lot of understanding around why things like quantity over quality are such a pervasive element of the workplace. Why things like urgency, a heightened senses of urgency, are so important in these spaces.
That's a tool.
It's a tool. If they're all tools, individualism is a tool used so that communities, specifically communities of color, minoritized communities, are bound within the framework, or controlled. And I don't know. An exciting thing for me has been traveling. Like, one thing that I made sure I put aside was money for travel, because that's my vision, is to not be up in this country. And so I got to visit Audrey when she was in Lima and when she was in Colombia.
Nice.
And one of the exciting things about being in both places was seeing the ways that community and collectivism is celebrated and practiced on a day-to-day, and not just like an Instagram post. Like, seeing it in actuality, it's such a huge contrast from what I'm used to, all the way to the service industry in those countries. They don't look at service and servicing each other as like a step down, like dehumanizing. They look at it as like a gift to serve you food because you need food. It was just such a wild experience, and I'm sure a lot of people that are listening that have traveled to other countries have probably had the same experience. Another experience I had was the disillusionment toward Black excellence. But my last trip to Cartagena, I was seeing so many different Black people, Black Americans and Black Colombians, and seeing the values that we place on the Instagram photo when we go to a place versus the family that's there to enjoy the moment. And I don't know, just the heightened value that we have on status as Black people, just to prove to white people or other people of color that we deserve to be in a space. It just, I don't know, seeing it so objectively, and unemployed, it was just like, it's been eye-opening, honestly. The last few months have been really eye-opening to what I actually want and maybe even need in a dynamic shift in my ideology. I don't know exactly what I want to do with it. I've been like playing around with the idea of consulting, which I know is something that I would be great to do. I think I would be a great consultant, and I have consulted before. But there's just something like lingering in the creative space, the marketing space, the music space that I haven't exactly tapped into. The cohort is getting there for me. I love leading the cohorts, but I really am trying to find a way to like meld all of this conversation into like, I don't know, one space that fits and serves more people than just myself.
Yeah, I might have some thoughts about that we can talk about offline.
Okay. Cool.
We have one question for you. Are you still screenwriting?
Oh, I am. Oh my gosh. Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, still screenwriting. Honestly, you know what's interesting about being a creative? We get so distracted. And one of the exciting parts about screenwriting is that there's no deadline for me. So I am still screenwriting, but I don't feel pressured by like any deadline. There's not some director like waiting for me to send them anything or to hand them out. So I get to go back and look at the work, and like it gets to be edited over time as I'm growing. And I'll be honest with you, screenwriting has been the first medium in my creative practice that feels free in that way. Like I don't get
for you right now.
It's just for me right now. But even I don't get to like re-record songs. Like that song is out there. You know, you can remix a thing, you can like reiterate a thing, but and sure, I guess with design you can as well. But screenwriting has been like this living, breathing document that I just get to have for myself. And I didn't think that I'd be fulfilled by that initially, but I really am. I would recommend other people like write short stories or screenwrite with no purpose, but just to write a story.
Right. No expectations, just to do. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining. I do want to wrap with a question around what do you feel like your next kind of big adventure is? In one of our clips, you know, you talked about like things that when you used to carry a chip on your shoulder and feeling like you had things to prove, and not feeling that way anymore, and looking forward to just doing life how you want to do life, and enjoying time with your family, maybe starting your own family. What is your next adventures look like?
I have a list of countries that I want to get to, and it's
Nice.
There's a few places in the States that I want to visit before things get real. But there's a list of countries outside of the States that I want to visit. The other the cohort is really exciting for me. Elevated also now has like extended its list of services beyond just design and marketing. So
Ooh.
the cohort fits underneath, the elevated services. I think a design cohort would fit nicely under there as well. But it also includes, the space we just opened in Savannah, elevated spaces. The space, if you have not seen it, it's available on Airbnb. It's called the Sand and Sapphire Studio. It's Moroccan inspired, with some
Can't
elements
wait.
of global travel, and really opening in that space to like holistic retreat, like sanctuary, like practice that, promotes wholeness, and sort of a respite for people in the creative field. So that's an exciting part of the elevated offerings. And then the other elements of that include consulting, one-on-one consulting, as well as like a sort of build your own team model for music artists to connect designers. So yeah, creatively, like that's in the bag at the moment. Musically, still doing what I normally do, performing. I have a show on May 14th in Atlanta, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, that's what I have going on at the moment. It's what I'm excited about.
Yay. Well, I'm super proud of you. I hope you feel proud of yourself, even as you're navigating whatever is ahead. I think just leaning into what makes you feel good
Mm-hmm.
is going to steer you in the right direction. And I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing so openly. If anyone connects, or if Katrina's career path resonates with you, please feel free to reach out to Katrina. You can follow her at King Cooley, right?
Yes, official. King Cooley official.
King Cooley official, kind of everywhere. And yeah, if you're local in Atlanta, check out one of her upcoming performances. Thank you so much, Katrina.
Oh, thanks so much, guys. Thanks, Steph.
Later.
Peace.